Now in this video, we're going to be making a very simple pineapple mead, also known as a melomel. And as always, with most of my winemaking videos, mead making videos, it will be done without the use of any additional additives. Hi, I'm Charles and welcome to DIY Fermentation, your site for doing fermentation on a shoestring budget. To make this pineapple mead, we're going to be using 3 pineapples. We're going to be using 3 pounds of honey, the juice of half a lemon to provide a little acidity, 1 black tea bag, which is going to act as our tannin substitute. We're going to be using a Red Star Premier Rouge wine yeast, handful of roughly chopped raisins, straining bags. We're going to need about a gallon of purified water. We need something to do primary fermentation in, preferably something with a wide mouth opening so we can put our fruit in there. We'll need something to do secondary fermentation in, preferably a 1 gallon or 4 liter carboy. We're going to need an airlock with stopper. And so that we can determine our alcohol by volume level, we need a hydrometer and testing tube. And last but certainly not least, we need a sanitizer to make sure all of our equipment has been properly sanitized before we begin. I'm going to be using Star Sands on this batch. Later on, I think I'm going to try using One Step in later batches. And that's what I'm going to be using to make this strawberry mead. The plan is going to be really very simple. I want to remove the outer skin. I want to chop them up. I want to get them in a food processor, or if you've got a blender, that works just as well. A juicer would work just as well. Get them into straining bags, and then get them into boiling water. All right, let's get our tannin substitute mixture started. Take our black tea bag and let's just pour in a little bit of water. oh, I don't know, quarter of a cup, half a cup. And let's bring that up to a low temperature so we can simmer that. We don't need a rolling boil or anything like that. We just want to get a nice little batch of strong black tea. Now the next thing we want to do is to get our pineapples into the mixture without making a mess. Now because the pineapple does have a fair amount of juice, we don't really need to pour in the full gallon of water. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour in, well, more than a half, but less than a whole. Again, this is country wine. You don't need to be precise. And anything we're short of, we can actually add to our carboy or fermenter later on. So let's go ahead and put cover on this. And let's bring this up to a boil. I mean, we don't need to cook it. We just want to bring it up to a boil. Purpose being to kill off any wild yeast that might have clung onto the fruit and to eliminate some of the bacteria that might have made it this far. Again, we're not using camelin tablets. We're not using sulfites. So this is how we do it. Now that our mixture has come to a boil, turn off the heat. Check on our tannin substitute mixture here. It's looking fairly strong. So we can go ahead and add that to our pineapple juice mixture. Being careful not to put in the tea bag. And while this is coming down to room temperature, we'll get ready for the next step. While our juice mixture is still fairly warm, now would be a good time to go ahead and add our 3 pounds of honey. Be a lot easier to dissolve it that way. Our pineapple juice mixture has had time to come down to room temperature. It's now time to transfer it into our fermenter. Now, we know we want at least a gallon worth of juice, and one way of determining that is to try and drain off some of the juice from the straining bags. And my hands were properly cleaned and sanitized. That's coming in at nearly a gallon. Let's pour off some of the juice from our bowl. Not bad at all. Put that aside. I've got a mark inside my fermenter, which lets me know where the 1 gallon mark is. So I'm going to go ahead and add in a little bit of our remaining water to reach that mark. And yeah, I know there's still a lot of juice in those bags, but I don't need to be precise, and I would like to have at least about a cup extra if I can manage it. Put our bags back in there. And more of our pineapple goodness. Now would also be a good time to add in the juice of half a lemon, which is acting as our acid blend substitute to give the wine a little bit of brightness. Taking a hydrometer reading, it looks like it's coming in at 1.094. Now again, we're only adding a quarter of a teaspoon of yeast. If you wish to bloom your yeast, feel free before putting it in. I like to go commando and just basically just sprinkle my yeast on top as evenly as possible. Let's go ahead and label our creation. What we have here is a pineapple mead, also known as melomel, the date we started, and our original starting gravity, which was 1.094. Now for the next 3 days, we want to go ahead and take off our cap and give it a vigorous little stir, making sure we punch down our floating bags of pineapple. And then usually after 3 days, I tend to just leave it alone for a total of the next 5 to 7 days. So it's going to sit in your primary fermenter for at least 5 to 7 days before you rack it or transfer it into your secondary fermenter. Now, this particular fermenter does have a built-in airlock, which is why you're not seeing me use one of these, although it does have a bung which will fit in the hole, and it will use one of these, but this is not needed in this particular case. Save that one for later. So all we need to do is just put it aside, come back to it tomorrow, give it a little stir again for the next 3 days, 3 days total, and rack it and move on to the next step of waiting it out. So again, that's my take on making a pineapple melomel, also known as a pineapple mead. Well, it's now been 12 months since we started making our pineapple mead, and I can have a few observations. One, born 11/2021, ABV came in at 13.13%, and it's been pasteurized. A couple of other things. It has been back sweetened, as are most of my, as are virtually all of my meads and wines at this point. It was relatively clear up until I started back sweetening it with honey, and now it's developed a noticeable haze. Normally when I'm pasteurizing meads in the carboy, a lot of that sediment will just settle out during the first day or two after pasteurization, and then I'll rack it in the bottles. But this one, and it does happen from time to time, simply remain cloudy. No big deal, just observational note. A couple of other things is that we are going to try and get through this one relatively quickly. Okay, and I'll just go ahead and crack this bad boy open. Nice soft little pop. And yep, smells like pineapple. I think in this one, I made a slight departure. In how I keep the carboy when I'm doing my rackings. There's always some you lose, and you have to fill up the space to eliminate the air headspace at the top. And I've gone from using water, which was readily available to make up the difference, to using they're using actual juice. This was done with pineapple juice, so it should maintain a lot of that pineapple flavor. Add additional sugar in the pineapple would have any effect on the ultimate ABV? Probably. Am I going to be worried about it? No. As far as I'm concerned, 13.13% it is. Could be slightly higher, but it's 13.13%. This is not a technical winemaking channel. We're not going to dwell on these little fine points. Let's see. Yep. Smell pineapple. And let's see what it tastes like. That's the important thing. It's got that pineapple sweetness, but it also has that pineapple tartness. Okay, that's not going away. In fact, in order of what you're actually tasting, tartness, then sweetness. I mean, I could have adjusted the back sweetening to make it a little bit more sweeter, but that's the way it is, and that's the way it's going to be. It's tart and sweet. It's a sweet tart. as it were. What you don't hear, because I'm going to adjust the audio, is that we're fairly close to a train track. At this time of night, they let you know that there's a train coming. However, you won't be, I might leave that in. Can you taste the alcohol at 13%? Yes, you can. It's definitely there. I'm getting good at getting my alcohol levels down to around 13% as opposed to this 16, 18, at one occasion 20% ABV, because I've learned that higher alcohol content, although occasionally might be a good thing, for the most part, it kind of affects the taste of the wine, and you really, for that matter, the enjoyment of the wine. When you just want something that's nice and relatively not hard licorice, a low ABV is pretty good. One other note about that train is that it is now 8:25 p.m. at the time of this video, thinking that a lot of the traffic noise would be gone and the train would be gone and I wouldn't have these disturbances. But yeah, people are letting me know that life goes on outside these windows. So far, I'm liking this wine. Actually, I've liked the pineapple wines that I've made. This was my first attempt at making a pineapple mead, which is honey-based. I'm actually liking it a lot. Once again, this is been yet another in a string of successful wines and meads that I've made where it's actually turned out pretty good. If you've seen any of my videos, you know that if I don't like it, I'm gonna let you know pretty doggone quick. But no. The one thing I wish it had is a bit more of the honey forward flavor. I mean, I back sweetened it with honey at the very end to suit my taste. But I wish it just had more of that honey smoothness going forward. I don't know what I can do to adjust the recipe to give it that effect, but no, it went from It was 1.094, I think, 1.097, one of the two. And ended up at 0.994. So it went almost completely dry. But since I really don't like my wines and meads completely dry, I mean, I try and make it as natural as possible to a certain extent. I'm definitely going to hang on to some of these bottles. I've got 4 left. Yeah, I've got 4 left, and these I'll just break out from time to time when I just want something that's good. I'm kind of sorry now I didn't make 2 gallons of it, but first time you're making something, making a small batch is sometimes advisable, especially if it's the first time you're making it. Sometimes they just don't all work out, and you just don't want to have a lot of something that just didn't work out lying around. So in order to keep this one fairly short, pineapple mead, definitely you should give it a try if you like pineapples. You can't hear it, but this has been one of those nights where that train is blasting his horn a little more than usual, okay? In any event, that's life in the suburb of the big city. So if you like what you see here, please click on that subscribe and notify button. If you really like it, click on that favorites button, make a small donation. If you like the channel, subscribe, hit the notify button as well. If you really like the channel, you can become a Patreon member, which doesn't really have a lot of content per se, but it is a way to help support this channel. So until the next video, I'll see you then.